The greatest assassin on Earth is reincarnated into a medieval world of swords and sorcery by a goddess, with one purpose and one purpose alone: to assassinate the hero before he grows too strong and destroys the world. On a lovely moonlit night, many rich and powerful people gather by a riverside mansion. As the people dine in a large hall, young handcuffed girls dressed and covered in makeup are announced onto a stage where they're auctioned off and sold to the highest bidder. When the girl considered the most valuable item for the night is brought on stage, she suddenly uses magic to uncuff herself and produces a magical rifle with which she starts shooting the guests. Her accomplice, Tart, disguised as a maid, uses a spear to attack the security guards and subsequently gives the other imprisoned girls keys, setting them free. While Tart holds off the guards, the other girl, Dia, uses a powerful spell to set a section of the mansion on fire. This serves as a signal for their other accomplices, a girl named Maha and a boy named Lu, whom had been keeping an eye on the mansion from across the river. It's revealed that the slave auction is run by a marquess, who sends her men disguised as bandits to attack villages both nearby and in other countries, where they kidnap young girls for nobles to buy. As a member of House Tuatha Dé, Lu is sent to assassinate the marquess on royal orders. He lines up his target through the scope of a magical sniper rifle and pulls the trigger. In a strikingly parallel situation, an old man lies prone on a cliff with a sniper rifle while a young woman next to him acts as his spotter. The old man snipes 6 mafiosos with unerring speed and accuracy. The young woman urges him to kill the rest of them, but he stops, telling her that they were only asked to kill those 6 by the organization. He reminds her that they are not heroes, they're assassins, tools that aren't allowed to overstep their boundaries. As they get ready to leave, the old man spots a reconnaissance drone and quickly jumps into the driver's seat of their getaway vehicle, telling the girl to ready her weapons. With a regiment of Border Patrol agents approaching the speeding vehicle from behind, the assassins open fire on the troops. The agents return fire and completely destroy the car in the process. But the gunfire originating from the car had been a decoy, set up through a clever mechanism that used the vibrations from the bumpy road to set off the triggers, allowing the two to escape, while the drone and the Border Patrol had their attention focused on the vehicle only. With the two now lying in wait for an opportunity to escape, the woman strikes up a conversation with the old-timer and asks him how he became an assassin and if he were satisfied with his life. He replies that he was raised his entire life to be an assassin by the organization, that it's the only life he's ever known, and that he takes great pride in the service he's rendered for them. However, his age has finally caught up with him, and once he finishes this mission, he'll retire from active duty and serve as an assassination teacher for the organization in Japan. Their escape goes as planned, and they're provided with fake passports and plane tickets to Japan. While the old man contemplates the end of his lengthy career on the flight, an explosion in the cockpit kills the pilots and causes the plane to lose control. The old man realizes that this was an attempt by the organization to kill him and heads over to the cockpit. There, he sees a military aircraft next to his plane and smiles in amusement at the thought of being buried in such a magnificent coffin. The fighter jet launches a missile at the plane, and the old man is killed. As the old man's consciousness falls into darkness, the organization's betrayal forces emotions he'd been suppressing his entire life to surface, fueling feelings of frustration. Suddenly, the man opens his eyes and sees himself in a strange location with a woman sitting in front of him. This mysterious goddess reveals that she'd summoned his dead soul and would give him the option to reincarnate with all his memories intact in another world, as long as he fulfills her request to assassinate the hero of this world. With his lifelong dedication rewarded by betrayal, the assassin accepts but decides to live his new life for himself. The goddess furnishes him with knowledge about this new world, its magic system, and its hero, and tells the assassin to live his life however he pleases, so long as he kills the hero in 16 years, after the hero has slain the Demon Lord, but before he's driven the world beyond the point of no return. Armed with all the knowledge of the new world, the assassin asks to be given abilities that reach the peak of human limits in order to fulfill his duty. The hero is an unfettered being born with 30 skills, 25 of which are A rank and 5 that are S rank, while regular humans are limited to a maximum of 5 skills altogether. The goddess agrees and allows him to pick any 5 skills of his choosing, 1 of each rank, along with any magic attributes. The old man carefully analyzes all of the over 100,000 skills available in the world and picks the S-rank skill, Rapid Recovery, the A-rank Spell Weaver, which lets him create new spells, the B-rank Limitless Growth, the C-rank Martial Arts, and a D-rank skill which surprises him for only being D-rank. He also picks all 4 of the basic magic attributes: earth, fire, wind, and water. The goddess compliments him on his interesting choices and sends his soul to be reincarnated as a child of the Tuatha Dé, a noble house of assassins belonging to Elvin, one of the 4 major kingdoms of this world. Born to Cyan and Esri Tuatha Dé, the assassin is given the name Lu Tuatha Dé. 7 years pass, and while Lu is unable to use magic because he lacks a tutor, he strengthens his body and mana with regular training and hunting. As Elvan Kingdom's greatest assassins and medical experts, the expertise of the Tuatha Dé are also applied on Lu by his father Cyan. His physical growth is checked on a weekly basis, and an optimal training regimen is designed for him, so that he may fulfill his responsibility of dealing with those that threaten the kingdom. Being the heir of the family, Lu is taught all of their medical and assassination techniques and given the mystic eyes of Tuatha Dé, a magical eye surgery which greatly enhances regular eyesight and also allows the user to visually perceive mana. Upon the successful completion of the surgery and the recovery of his eyesight, his father arranges a magic mentor for Lu. This mentor turns out to be a 10-year-old genius by the name of Dia Viacone, one of the top 5 mages from the neighboring country of Swyogul. To begin their training, Dia hands Lu a Far Stone, which is used to store mana and can help determine the amount of mana a person has within them. Lu, through regular training, had already increased his mana capacity about 1,000-fold by this point. So, as he begins pouring all his mana into the stone, it cracked. Dia frantically tells him to throw the Far Stone as far away as he can, which helps keep them safe from the subsequent gigantic explosion. While the result turns out to be a shocking one to Dia, Lu is quite pleased with discovering a way to make magical grenades. In subsequent lessons, Dia helps Lu convert his mana into the different elemental magic attributes and teaches him how to cast spells through incantations. She also teaches Lu that the more magic you use, the more spells are sent into your mind from God. Lu questions if one would be able to cast spells if another mage wrote them down. Both Lu and Dia experiment and find that it's indeed possible to learn spells this way. Lu asks Dia to transcribe all the spells that she knows and analyzes the language of magic. He successfully generates new spells through this method and leverages this newfound ability to magically create rifles and powerful cannons. The time for Dia's mentorship quickly comes to an end. To mark the occasion, Lu gifts her with a titanium knife and Dia gives him a Far Stone and makes him promise to come see her whenever she sincerely asks him to. Judging that his son is ready to take the next step, Cyan takes Lu to a prison filled with death row inmates and asks him to kill a prisoner. This test is designed to help a person overcome their natural resistance towards killing others, a resistance which can prove fatal in the field. Before they start, Lu questions his parents' loving upbringing, as committing murder would be easier if he had been raised as an emotionless assassin. The reason he is given is that they're people, not tools. A tool kills because it's ordered to, but a person judges if the job they've been tasked with actually benefits the kingdom. While not completely satisfied with the answer, Lu nevertheless completes his first kill in this new world. Another few years pass and Lu reaches the age of 10. He heads into town with his parents and searches around for people with mana using his mystic eyes. With only 8 years to go before he has to kill the hero, he realizes the need for a talented assistant that possesses mana. As winter approaches, he heads into the forest to hunt for some food and comes across a starving girl being chased down by a pack of wolves. He saves her by quickly dispatching them. The girl reveals she comes from a poor family and was abandoned because they did not have enough food to feed everyone through winter. She heard from a traveler that the Tuatha Dé region was wealthy, so she walked across the mountains and into the forest to get there. Lu cooks her some porridge and tells her he's the son of the Tuatha Dé Lord. In shock, she recounts that God came to her in a dream and told her she'd have a fateful encounter. Hearing this, Lu offers her a job as his assistant, but reveals some of the dreadful details that work would entail. With little hesitation, she confidently agrees, because Lu was the first person who had ever told her he needed her. Here, it's revealed the girl's name is Tart, and the reason Lu had been so quick to get close to her and make her trust him was because she possessed mana. More time passes and Lu turns 12. Tart becomes Lu's servant in public and his personal assistant in private. Cyan allows Lu to have Tart as his assistant as long as he personally instructs her and takes responsibility for killing her if she betrays the family. Lu teaches the assassination techniques of the Tuatha Dé and trains her the same way his father trained him, along with creating a foldable spear for her, given her natural gift with the weapon.
He also learns how to mass-produce far stones and stockpiles hundreds of them filled close to the brim with mana. With the addition of a little extra power, each stone could be used as a potent explosive. Cyan notes that Lu is ready to become a full-fledged assassin to the Tuatha Dé with just a single test remaining. A one-on-one fight between father and son. The duel takes place in the forest at night and involves a vicious back and forth between the two top assassins. Ultimately, Lu manages to successfully overcome his father's tricks and claims victory over the veteran family head. Cyan proclaims he has nothing more to teach his son and gives him permission to accompany him on his mission to gain practical experience. The two go on many trips together, using Cyan's position as a doctor to study their targets from up close, before eliminating their corrupt victims in a variety of inventive ways. To truly cement himself as a first-rate assassin, Cyan gives Lu the task of building a fake identity to use as a means of entering the homes of unsuspecting nobles without raising their suspicion. Cyan uses his connections to arrange for Lu to present himself as the illegitimate son of a well-known merchant. He tasks him with assuming the identity of Ilig Balor until he reaches 14 years of age and tells him to achieve such success as a merchant that nobles willingly invite him into their homes. Lu jumps on this opportunity as his success would allow him to take advantage of the Balor Trading Company's information network. Meanwhile, the goddess looks at the progress of the hundreds of talented people she'd reincarnated into the world to kill the hero, including the world's strongest special forces soldier and strongest samurai among others. But discover they've all been duds so far. Time is running out, and the pressure is building on Lu to raise his strength and come up with a plan to assassinate the hero. It's been 12 years since the Earth's greatest assassin was reincarnated into the body of Lu Tuatha Dé and given the mission to kill the hero. Lu has spent his time honing his magic and body while searching for valuable people to help him with his mission. Now he's been tasked by his father with developing a fake identity as a merchant with which to gain access to high society people and places. Both Lu and Tart arrive at the port town of Milto, where the Balor Trading Company is located. Lu adopts the persona of Ilig Balor, changes his appearance, and begins his preparation. In the city, a small cohort of orphans and stray kids led by a young girl named Maha go around Milto serving as tour guides for visitors and tourists. They use the money they can earn from this endeavor to survive on the streets of the city. But one rain-soaked evening, they're abducted by a group of kidnappers that pounce on the easy prey. The kids are taken to a corrupt orphanage run by a criminal named Torin. Torin receives funds from wealthy patrons to run the place as an act of charity, but since his income depends upon the number of children occupying his orphanage, he hires thugs to grab homeless kids off the streets. The kids are treated horribly, beaten, starved, and made to do manual labor throughout the day. Torin also runs a side business for nobles who wish to spend a night with the children. The trauma of their situation gets to be too much for one of the girls in Maha's group, Noeen, who goes so far as to brutally scar her face with a sickle. This sickening situation is shown to go on for 2 years when one day Lu shows up at their establishment as Ilig Balor and offers to buy one of the children permanently to use as his right hand. Lu offers this position to Maha and comes to an agreement with Torin, who asks him to come pick Maha up in 3 days' time. When Lu leaves, Torin tells Maha to get dressed as he has received an offer for a night with her from a viscount. That night, as they travel by carriage, Maha reveals that she possesses mana and tries to make him run for it, but is caught by Torin's henchman, who is also mana capable. Just when all hope seems lost, Lu arrives in the nick of time to save her. He exposes Torin's con to the authorities, who arrest him and shut down his operation, and also has Noeen's scars healed. Arrangements are made for Maha to be adopted into the Balor family, where the head of the household, Balor Biemnich, is the only one that knows of Lu's real background. He assigns Lu to a store with a free rein to run it however he pleases. With his goal of targeting nobles, Lu decides to convert the premises into a high-end cosmetic and sweet shop. Using knowledge from Earth, he introduces moisturizers and chocolate to the market for the very first time and has the children from Maha's group operate the store. The products are an instant hit. Their shop, Orna, becomes the talk of the town, with Lu receiving invitations for an audience with nobles all over Alvin and the neighboring kingdoms. The method of production is kept a trade secret by Lu, causing him to be targeted by spies and kidnappers. Their efforts are easily thwarted by Tart and Maha, who are both being trained personally by him. He also takes the time to visit Dia once a month at her estate, where they both spend time together as well as research magic and develop new spells, with their latest success being the development of a gravity reversal spell. 2 years have passed since Lu's arrival in Milto. His shop is an unqualified success. The merchant Ilig Balor now has many connections among the top ring of society and has built a large information network. He also encourages his subordinates to polish their skills. Tart is sent to participate in battles to increase her combat experience, and he has Maha handle major responsibilities for Orna to develop her money and information handling experience. With his time in Milto coming to an end, he transfers the responsibility of handling the day-to-day operations of the store Orna to Maha, who lays out plans to expand the business into the neighboring towns and cities. He also leaves Maha in charge of the information network and promises to drop by occasionally. On their way back home to the Tuatha Dé, they're ambushed by wolf monsters. Tart takes the opportunity to display her improved prowess by making quick work of the beasts. Lu notes that the presence of monsters close to human settlements is a sign that the hero is soon about to appear. Upon arrival, Lu meets with his father Cyan, who praises his work with Orna as Illig Ballor. Cyan reveals that he had an ulterior motive for sending Lu on a mission to become a merchant, that being to allow him to build a life outside of the Tuatha Dé. He offers Lu the chance to leave the family and their dangerous lifestyle, but Lu reaffirms his conviction to stay with the family and follow the Tuatha Dé creed. He states that all the work he's done and the people he has helped as both Lu Tuatha Dé and Illig Ballor are important to him, and thus the peace of the Alvan kingdom is something that he has to respect. He also informs Cyan that he's in love with Dia and can only ask for a hand in marriage as a Tuatha Dé, not as Illig Ballor. This makes Cyan laugh, and he allows Lu to embark on his first solo assassination mission. The mission involves assassinating a corrupt count by the name of Asba Vankaur. The count rules over Pizir, a large merchant town. To enrich himself, Vankaur sells Alvan Kingdom's military secrets to neighboring kingdoms in exchange for an addictive drug called Vizian, which he then distributes throughout Alvan. Cyan gives Lu free rein to kill the Count in any manner he wishes without any interference from him. Before deciding to take on the job, Lu begins to investigate the Count to see if he's truly worthy of being killed. To do this, he devises a plan to use the identity of Illig Ballor to infiltrate the Count's home. He has messages delivered to Maha to mobilize their information network and to set up a meeting with the Count's wife. While Maha works on obtaining information from behind the scenes, Lu and Tart decide to go visit Pizir in person to observe the state of the citizens of Vankaur's territory. As they walk through the streets and alleys of Pizir, they're ambushed by thugs who use a little girl with a Vizian-addicted mother to distribute drug-laced jam to unsuspecting customers. They disable the wannabe enforcers and visit the girl's home in the state Vizian has left her mother in. Lu uses magic to break the biological dependence the mother's body has with the drug, but states there is nothing he can do about the mental craving she may have for it. Having seen all they needed to, they go back home where the intel gathered by Maha has already been delivered. Upon confirming that the Count is indeed the ringleader behind the operation, they begin their work. Maha arrives, using the job as an excuse to come see Lu, and they both go to Pizir under their Ballor identities. There, they meet with the Count's wife and the Count himself. They stay at their home for some days where they debut a new moisturizer and attend parties. Using the intel obtained from the Count's wife, Lu and Tart find a cliff overlooking the Vankaur estate and snipe the Count as he steps out on his balcony for a glass of wine before bed. When he sees the Count's wife crying over the body of her dead husband, Lu feels these emotions being moved for the first time after a kill. As Tart comforts him, he realizes that while this killing was necessary, he would not forget this feeling, as that was the type of person Lu Tuatha Dé had decided to become. Using the knowledge of the world granted to him by the goddess, Lu tasks Maha with locating and acquiring divine treasures. Maha manages to locate one of them, a spear called Gay Bolg, currently in the hands of a man named Sintanta McNess. McNess is rumored among the people to be the man who is most likely to become the hero. Maha also reveals that a civil war has broken out in Dia's kingdom of Swiogal, and that her Viacone family is also participating as part of the kingdom's army. Meanwhile, that very same Sintanta McNess is currently fighting on the side of the rebels and dealing major damage to their army. Lu rushes over to Dia's home and implores her to escape, telling her that if Sintanta is the hero, they have no means of beating him. He offers to help her and her family leave the kingdom using his identity as Illig Ballor. This angers Dia, who states that as the daughter of a count, she was born with the responsibility of protecting her land and her people. Fleeing was simply not an option. To counter the depressing mood, Dia asks Lu to help disguise her the same way he disguises himself as Illig Ballor and take her out on a date in town. The two walk around town together, eating, conversing, and playing games. Lou notes the presence of combat veterans in town, signifying the seriousness of the situation. Dia brings him to Viacon's famous hot springs, and the two bathe together. She tells him that she loves her home as much as he loves the Tuatha Dé, so she wishes to support her people as much as she can. Lou reluctantly agrees, but tells her he'll keep a channel open in case of an emergency. As the two part ways, Lou tells Dia that he'll drop by soon, but she tells him the situation will be hectic for the next while, and that she won't have time, so he should wait until she contacts him before coming back. Lou agrees to this, and leaves. Meanwhile, it's revealed that all the veterans in town were disguised guards of the Viacone family who'd been hiding so that Dia and Lou could enjoy one final normal date. Dia turns to go back home and tearfully wishes Lou a final goodbye. At the Tuatha Dé estate, Tard rushes Lou to the house's lobby where a gravely injured unconscious man is receiving treatment from Cyan. Cyan tells Lou the man is a client and they've been tasked with taking out a target. The target is revealed to be none other than Dia Viacone, and the job had been offered to them by Count Viacone himself. Confused, Lou asks his father to elaborate. It's revealed the Viacone family and the royal army were defeated in the Civil War. Dia and the Count have been forcefully barricaded in the castle, and the citizens and the rebel army are fighting along the walls of the city. To prevent the bloodshed from worsening, Count Viacone has sent a request to the Tuatha Dé to secretly smuggle Dia out the castle. Lou agrees to the job and rushes to Swaogal as fast as possible. There he finds the Viacone forces greatly outnumbered by the enemy. To spread confusion and make a path for himself to slip into the castle unnoticed, Lou snipes a few enemy commanders and sets off a few explosives using far stones.
風2の割合で爆発力を最大にし、榴弾としての殺傷力。
Using this opportunity, the Viacone forces launch a surprise attack which Lou uses to camouflage his intrusion. Unseen by anybody, he makes his way into the castle and into Dia's room where she and her father Demore Viacone await. Lou and Demore greet one another and come up with an escape plan. Lou proposes to set the room on fire to make it look as if Dia committed suicide, using a dead girl's body he'd picked up from the battlefield as a body double. Demore agrees and tells Lou he will go out as a diversion and slip away after his allies escape. Just as they're about to carry out the plan, an unknown assailant launches a devastating attack which wipes out an entire section of the battlefield. Lou manages to block some of the firepower, but it still damages a good chunk of the castle and Dia's room as well. It's revealed the man behind the attack was none other than Santanta McNess. The power on display had come from the divine treasure in his possession, Gay Bull. Lou responds with a large attack of his own, but it only manages to scratch McNess. Witnessing his power, Santanta challenges Lou to a duel. Lou realizes this to be the only way to escape without bloodshed, since Santanta is completely focused on him and agrees to participate. While stalling for time, he uses magic to launch a tungsten rod into space and attacks Santanta with a kinetic orbital strike, the so-called Rod from God. With power comparable to a small nuclear strike, the rod falls on top of Santanta, drilling a giant hole deep in the earth, taking Santanta down in the process. To prevent Dia from being used as a reason for another war, Lou brings her away to the Tuatha Dé residence where she's disguised under a false identity of being Lou's younger sister. Just as all seems well, Cyan reveals he received a letter from Maha informing him the real hero, Epona Rhiannon, has appeared in the Alvan Kingdom.